Hello, everybody. Welcome into the Mountaineer Postgame Show. I'm Schuyler Callihan, West Virginia, taking down Mount St. Mary's 70-54 in the season opener. A rundown of some of the numbers here tonight. The leading scorer for the Mountaineers was Jasper Floyd, 25 points on 9 of 13 shooting, made his only 3 of the night, went 6 of 9 from the free throw line, also chipped in 4 assists. Honor Huff, not an efficient night shooting it, just 3 of 12 from the field, 3 of 11 from 3, but did go for 16 points. And Brennan Laurent, the only other Mountaineer to reach double figures, going for 11 points on 5 of 9 shooting, and also added 13 rebounds for the only double-double of the night for either side. And really, this was a game that was pretty much what you would expect in a season opener with a team that's completely new. Just a really slow start offensively, couldn't figure out what to really get into, and just never really found that rhythm outside of Jasper Floyd. But once they did, they were able to get some things going. They got to the line at tons. Mount St. Mary's had a lot of bad fouls. Unfortunately for the Mountaineers in that first half, they just weren't able to sink many of those opportunities. And the free throw line continues to kind of be a little bit of a concern. Wouldn't quite sound the alarm on it just yet, because I think there's a lot of room for improvement. And it's, we've seen an exhibition in one game now, so there's plenty of time for that to improve. That's something that's an easy fix as opposed to many other areas of the game. But once again, not a great shooting night for, as I mentioned, Honor Huff and Treysen Eaglestaff, who notched just 1 point and went 0 for 3 from the field. Only took 1 shot from beyond the arc, and that was a little surprising to me. And I know the Mount was playing good defense on him. They were glued to him for the most part. But there were a few times where I felt like he had the ball, he could have shook a guy loose, kind of made some self-creation there, and just didn't necessarily have that happen. And passed the ball a good bit. Maybe he was a little bit too unselfish in this game. Probably should have taken at least a few more opportunities to get the ball up. But just 2 quiet nights to start here that we've seen publicly from Eaglestaff. That's going to have to change in the near future. And Harlan Obioha, not a good night for him. 5 points, 2 rebounds. And as I talked about in the Between the Years episode earlier this morning, I thought this was going to be a game for him where he'd be able to go have a double-double type of a night. I don't know if he was going to dominate this game or not, but I felt like he could get you 10 and 10 or 12 and 10 or something like that, and just never really got himself in good positions for rebounds. And that's on both ends of the floor. And I know Ross mentioned in the post game that turning Mount St. Mary's over 20 times is going to play into the rebounding totals looking a little skewed, and he is right on that. But there were still just way too many opportunities for Obioha and even a couple of the other guys that made up that front court to get rebounds, and they just couldn't reel it in. So that's going to have to get much better, especially when you're playing inferior talent. And if that's not going to, if this was an indication of what it's going to be like moving forward, then the number one concern that I had about this team entering the year very well could be valid, and that was the physicality piece of it. I don't know if this team has enough physicality to withstand an 18 game Big 12 league schedule and keep their head above water. I just don't know if that's the case. Harlan is the one guy you could probably assume on most nights would be able to be that anchor for you in the physicality realm of it. He just wasn't tonight. It was more so Brendan Laurent, who was able to stick his nose in between of the fan and really kind of muck things up at times. But they're going to need more from Harlan Obioha. They're going to need more out of DJ Thomas, who only had 1 rebound. I just was not very pleased or thrilled, I would say, with how West Virginia handled things on the interior, and that's on the glass and the paint. There's a lot of room for improvement. So we'll see what happens there. But if that doesn't get fixed, you're going to be in some big, big, big trouble. Jasper Floyd, before we get out of here, this was completely not on my bingo card for tonight. Never underestimate his or really anybody's offensive potential on this roster, but I mean, 25 points. I mean, 9 of 13 shooting, just was really efficient. And that's one of the things he does well is he's just a really efficient player, really well rounded, doesn't really take a ton of bad shots, and just gets the offense into good situations. And tonight he had to be the straw that stirred the drink. Had the first 5 points of the night, and if it wasn't for him going off and having this tremendous debut, then things would have been much more interesting than they already were late in that second half. So hats off to Jasper Floyd for coming in strong with a very, very impressive performance in his WVU debut. So that's going to do it for me here tonight on the post-game show. Quick and fast one here. We're going to probably keep these pretty limited, pretty short and tight on these non-conference games that are against these low to mid majors. And we'll kind of grow as we get into the season and into Big 12 play. But West Virginia 70, Mount St. Mary's 54. Make sure you hit that like and subscribe button here on our YouTube page at West Virginia on SI. Mountaineers will be back at it on Thursday night at 7 o'clock against Campbell, and we will have the post-game show for that one as well. But we'll be back tomorrow morning on Between the Ears here on this channel, and we're going to get into some football talk tomorrow. Thursday morning, we'll have the Walk Thru GameDay Show previewing the football team's matchup against the Colorado Buffs. So a lot of action coming up for you here on the channel. Make sure to hit that subscribe button, and we'll talk to you here soon. Take care.